everybody. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Carol, and I have two reasons for doing this video today. Number one is I haven't done one in about a month, and so I thought I would just check in with everybody and say hi and let you know how I'm doing. So this time of year is usually very difficult for me. It's a planetary thing, astrologically speaking, and the way the planets usually line up during this time of the year makes it very difficult for me to be out in public. I pick up on energy even more easily than I normally do, and I feel the world. So with everything, especially these days, with everything that's going on in the political arena and the humanitarian crisis across the world, it's very difficult for me to do much of anything. So I've been doing a lot of crocheting. So it's difficult for me to even just go out of the house and do yard work because I can feel all that energy. I'm going to make more of an attempt at it tomorrow though. But anyway, so I just wanted you all to know I'm doing well. I don't think that there's anything like super negative in the energies. I do think that they're peaking. I think that for those of us who are empathic, who are very sensitive to the energies, if you're having a difficult time out there, it's probably because you are picking up on the world energies. Neptune, I'm not sure if it's retrograde right now, but it goes retrograde for a long period of time right in the holiday seasons. And for anybody who is sensitive, that can make you more susceptible to feeling the world energies. So anyway, lots of alone time really helps that. So I spend a lot of time by myself and with my animals, like this little girl right here. Look at my pixie girl. Anyhow, so I'm doing good. I am getting involved in the political arena a little bit, but that's because I was told to by my guidance. I was asked to point out certain things that were going on in the political arena and with the wars, etc. So about a year ago, I guess, maybe a little bit over, I did a video about this being the end times and what that means, and that the world, that the earth was not going to be destroyed, but the world as we know it was going to change significantly, drastically, and that what was going on is that, and it's still going on even more so, is that all of the muck the water was being stirred up, so all the muck that had settled to the bottom was now coming up, floating up to the top. I'll link that video to this one, so if you want to see what that one's all about, you can check that one out, and it pretty much describes what we're seeing in the political arena these days. So it's important for us not to get caught up in any of that stuff, and I know I've said it several times in my videos, and if I remember correctly, I made one video that was dedicated to that, to not getting caught up in the political and all the drama that's going on these days. We should be passionate about it, and we should express our passion, but we should not allow it to drag us under. We should not allow ourselves to get so caught up in it that we lose ourselves, because other people who are impassioned about whatever it is that they feel, think, or believe, their energy, their passion around that is going to pull you in. And if you're not careful, you're going to get sucked under, and you're going to lose yourself, and then you're going to have to work even harder to get yourself back, which is kind of another reason why I've kind of been a little bit on the introvert side, is because it takes so much energy from me not to get pulled into that, because people try to pull you and suck you into debates and arguments and etc. So anyway, so the one reason that I wanted to make this video was to give that update on my personal life. And the other reason I wanted to make this video is because I heard on some newscast or something the other day, something about the 11th hour. And it struck me as being important. Not that particular segment of news or whatever, but that phrase, 11th hour. And I thought to myself, this was about a week ago, and I thought, okay, I'll look into it, see why it feels important. Well, it took me a while to get there. I finally did. Earlier today, I checked out, I Googled 11th hour to find out what was going on with that. And turns out it is important. And it directly relates to several of the videos that I've made and talking about the end times, etc. So when I make my videos, I try really hard not to make them sound dire or hellfire and brimstone, or or preachy or anything like that. I really don't want to come from that aspect. But the 11th hour is kind of about that. The 11th hour is that time where this is our last chance. This is humanity's last chance to get on board, to get things right inside of yourselves, and then once you do that, to try and help other people to get there. Because when the 11th hour is gone, that's when the kind of like things start to hit the fan, and it's like you don't have any more chances. And I really hate saying it like that. It bothers me to say it like that because it sounds so dire. But the truth as I understand it, please always keep in mind that this is my interpretation of the information that I receive and the research that I do on that information in order to understand it better. So it's coming from my interpretation. And it might be different than other people. So if something in one of my videos sounds right, it feels right, but you don't quite understand it, or there's something kind of off about it, do some research on it. Do your own due diligence to make sure that you're not left behind, to make sure that you know the best way to bring the light within you, to not bring the light within you, but to amplify your light, to grow your understanding and your connection to the divine, because that's what the 11th hour is all about. This is our time where we have to get on board with understanding who we are and our connection to the divine. Whatever you want to call the divine, that energy, that those entities or entity, that those beings or that being, however you want to define the divine, the source from which we all hail, it's totally up to you. It's totally fine. But it is a beneficent source. It is a source that loves us and that embraces us and that allows us all of our indiscretions and still loves us no matter what we do. But we have to own up to it. So we have to embrace our shadow sides. We have to look at the things that we understand that we've done and to admit to them. It's like if you see in the political arena right now, you'll see a lot of lies coming up. That people are lying left and right, and those lies are being brought up to the top of the surface. And what those people should be doing is they should be owning them and saying, yeah, my bad, I'm sorry, I lied. I know it wasn't the right thing. I won't do it again, or whatever. So that's what you should be doing with yourselves right now. Owning everything that you've ever done and finding a way to forgive yourself for those things if they were not kind. Because only in accepting our shadow sides, that part of us that lives in the shadows, because we as human beings don't want anybody to know that we're fallible. We don't want anybody to know that we have a dark side. And so in the beginning, when I first moved out to Sedona, I met people that said, oh yeah, I don't have a dark side. Yeah, I worked past that a long time ago. You know what? I'm here to tell you right now. I started my awakening process like 30 years ago, and I've done a lot of work, and I've confronted, and I've argued with, and I've embraced. I've had tons of interactions with my shadow side and with my dark side. And I'm telling you that those things, those aren't terrible things. They're just different aspects of ourselves. And we have to own them. We have to own those aspects of ourselves that tends to get caught up in the negativity of things and the darkness of things. And we have to embrace that side of ourselves and help it to understand why that's not right to do. They're like children. That's the way I see my own shadow side, my own dark side. And when I say that, when I'm talking about my dark side, it is that part of me that if I don't have my morning coffee and the animals start bothering me, I could lose it. I'm laughing about it, but it's not a nice thing. It's not a nice thing to yell at my dogs because they're barking and I haven't had my morning coffee yet. But that's, I mean, light, when we talk about, light and the divine, we think about it as this airy, fairy, happy-go-lucky. We're always, emitting these positive vibes and we're euphoric, etc. And that's true. But we live in a world of duality. And so there is this aspect of ourselves that we cannot ignore. We can't say that we don't have a shadow side. If anybody tells you that they don't have a shadow side and they're a third-dimensional human being, you should probably really question where they're coming from and what their agenda is and how much their ego is trying to be fulfilled by your acknowledging that they're this perfect light being. Anyhow, so the 11th hour is our time. It's like a last chance for us. And we need to get things right inside of ourselves. So if you're a Christian, and this is not directed just to those who are Christian, but if you're a Christian, that means that this is the time that you really need to turn to Jesus and get yourself straight and ask him to guide you and to help you to do what you're here to do and to follow in his footsteps. And you'll only follow in his footsteps for a certain period of time, and after that, you're going to be on your own because you're going to have your own path to walk. But in the meantime, you follow in his footsteps and he'll help you. That makes, it's like walking through a minefield. And, there's mines all around you. Well, the scout goes out ahead, which would be Jesus. And in order for you not to get blown up, you follow in that scout's footsteps until you make it across the minefield. And then you go your way. And the scout goes his way. So that's what that's about. That's why if you're Christian, or if you've been thinking about Christianity, if you're not totally opposed to Christianity, I highly recommend that you check out, go to a church or find somebody to help you to know Jesus better. Again, using discernment, because Christianity is still a religion, and it's not about religion. It's about our own inner light, our own Christ consciousness. But that energy that is the Christ consciousness, if you ask for Jesus' assistance and guidance and showing you the way to help you walk in his footsteps through that minefield, which is this current life, to the point where you can get past it, you've learned enough, then you can go on your own. You go on your own path. So it's like I had this conversation with him, with the Christ energy, the Christ consciousness, with Jesus the other day, and said, I asked him, I said, please give me guidance, show me the way, help me to follow in your footsteps. And I was told that I'm not supposed to follow in his footsteps anymore. I'm supposed to go my own way now. So he's taken me through the minefield. And Jesus Christ has taken me through the minefield. I don't care what color you think he is, or what nationality you think he is, or if you think he was just a man or not. There is something in Jesus and who Jesus Christ was and who he is now to so many of us that carries a huge, tremendous energy. And I have decided in the last several months that I'm not even going to question how all of that works, Jesus and God, etc., because it's too much for my little mind to deal with right now. So I'm just going with what I know works for me, and that's Jesus. But I'm not supposed to follow in his footsteps anymore. I'm supposed to go my own direction, and that's like a little, it's not scary, but it's a little almost confusing and a little daunting. So that's what I'm trying to figure out right now as well. And also I'm trying to figure out how to explain to people to find their light and to grow it without using Jesus as an example and as the way shower, because that's how I got to where I am, was with his help. And without his help, I don't think I'd be here right now. But anyway, I kind of diverged a little bit again. Anyway, point is that this is the 11th hour, and we need to take it seriously. We need to get right with ourselves, inside of ourselves, with God, with the Creator, with Jesus, Buddha, whoever it is, however it is that you believe or you pray, or wherever you get your divine, beneficent guidance from. You need to turn to them. You need to ask them for help, and you need to try really hard to get right, because we are in those end times. And I don't know exactly how it's all going to play out. I have an idea, but again, I'm really adverse to letting my videos go over 15 minutes, and I'm over 15 minutes. Anyway, just wanted you all to know I'm doing well. I love you all. I think about doing videos all the time, and then I just get so drained, and it's really difficult for me to do it. But, you know, please, I encourage you to ask me questions, because it then gives me an idea of what to talk about. Otherwise, I just wait for that guidance that says, you really need to tell them about this. And that guidance told me this morning that I really need to tell you about the 11th hour. So, there it is. Research the 11th hour. Google it, or whatever internet browser you use. Do some research on it. There's more information on the 11th hour than there was a while ago. And I will also tell you that it's connected to the 13th hour, and I think I mentioned that in one or two of my other videos very briefly. But the 13th hour is when I was told that some of us were going to be allowed to leave. And it kind of likened it to the rapture. From what I was given to understand, was that it felt very similar to what the Christians know as the rapture. So, 13th hour is coming up, 11th hour is here. So, no more time for dilly-dallying. Watch the words that come out of your mouth. Don't let yourself be slow to anger and quick to listen. Know that everybody that you come into contact with is connected to you. Know that even those people who upset you and that hurt you, even those people are connected to you. Even those people deserve your love and your understanding. That's what we need to bring into ourselves now, to fill ourselves with that unconditional love, not only for those that are close to us, but for everybody in the world. To see the goodness that exists with even the darkest person. And one of the best ways, easiest ways, I'm not going to say only way, to do that is to learn how to first forgive yourself. And you cannot forgive yourself until you accept responsibility for everything. And you'd be surprised how many people feel guilty for small little things that they shouldn't have to feel guilty about. But because of their upbringing or their religious environment, they feel guilty over it. My boyfriend and I talk about it quite a bit, because he says that it's just because he's a good Catholic, so he knows how to feel guilty. Anyway, there's a lot of things that you shouldn't even feel guilty about. But anything that you have ever felt guilt over, you need to look at it and you need to forgive yourself. Yes, ask for forgiveness from God, but ultimately it's your forgiveness that is going to really matter. Because as I was told many years ago, was, I have already forgiven you. It is you who needs to forgive yourself. I have already forgiven you. It is you who needs to forgive yourself. So, contemplate on that. I wish you all much love and happy holidays.